Hey bookwormies, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to this video. I've had this video and I wanted to do it someday for so long. Things I haven't done it because I'm really bad with making the right connections for to see which books could be similar and which books somebody would like without having two totally different books and then recommending them both as they're similar. And some of these are going to be kind of Romy, they don't really go together. They're not really they don't seem similar, but this is how I'm going to be doing this. So guys, welcome to If You Like This Book, Read This One. If you guys know, probably this has been a trend going on for a while. Maybe if you like this movie, you'll like this book. If you like this show, you'll like this book. If you like this book, you will like this one. All these kinds of things. And I wanted to do this. And so yeah, and if guys this doesn't go well, tell me and I won't do it ever again, okay? But I just wanted to finally do this, so here we are. So here we go. First of all, we have If You Liked. Okay, also, just so you know, you can also reverse it. So if you read the one book and you didn't read the other one, you can do that, okay? So, if you liked Caraval, read Phantasma. Now listen, you probably, if you guys have seen Phantasma around the place, it is marketed as a darker, steamier fantasy book that's like Caraval. And I kind of agree. Not exactly, but I still recommend it a lot. So, here, let me tell you guys. So, I'm going to read the synopsis first of Caraval, okay? Scarlet Dragna has never left the tiny island where she and her sister Tella live with their powerful and cruel father. Now Scarlet's father has arranged a marriage for her, and Scarlet thinks her dreams of seeing Caraval, the fiery once-a-year performance where the audience participates in the show, are over. But when she gets a letter, things start to get interesting. That last sentence I created because I didn't want to read the whole thing, but that's kind of what it is, okay? Next we have Phantasma's synopsis, okay? So it goes like this. When Ophelia and her sister discover their mother brutally murdered, there is no time to grieve. Ophelia has inherited both her powerful death-driven magic and enormous debt on their home. Circumstances go from dire to deadly. However, when Ophelia's sister decides to pay off the loan by entering Phantasma, a deadly competition where most contestants don't make it out alive, and the winner is granted a single wish, she decides to join her, save her. And then we have this. Caraval meets Throne of the Fallen in the spicy, dark romantasy where a necromancer needs help for a dangerous phantom to win a deadly competition, only to find their partnership puts her at risk of breaking the game's most vital rule: don't fall in love. Now, Phantasma is a much steamier version of Caraval, and it's not exactly the same, but I feel like if you're looking of kind of a similar vibe but just different from Caraval, I totally recommend this. Or if you've read Phantasma and you want something a bit more simple, not spicy, YA more style, I'd go for Caraval for sure. I think it will satisfy you guys. Okay, next we have If You Liked Powerless, read Red Queen. Now, actually, I enjoyed Red Queen more. Honestly, I'll tell the truth. And especially, I haven't read the second book yet, but I already have a feeling it's going to be better than Reckless. But yeah, and these, I feel like literally Powerless is a copy of Red Queen, just different names, okay? Listen, Powerless, so she's the very thing he spent his whole life hunting. He's the very thing she spent her whole life pretending to be. Only the extraordinary belong in the kingdom of Elia, the exceptional, the empowered, the elites. The powers these elites have possessed for decades were graciously gifted to them by the plague, though not all were fortunate enough to both survive the sickness and reap the reward. Those born ordinary are just that, ordinary. And when the king decreed that all ordinaries be banished in order to preserve his elite society, lacking an ability suddenly became a crime, making Peyton Gray a felon by fate and a thief by necessity. So pretty much, Powerless is there's these two social classes, the elites and the ordinaries. Elites have powers and they're the greatest of them all. And if you're an ordinary, you're kind of looked down on very highly. And when I read you guys a synopsis of Red Queen, it's going to sound very similar. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you had not read either of these books, I'd start with Red Queen. And if you really like the whole series and you kind of are going for a similar vibe, I would try Powerless. I want to see what people think, but I think that personally Red Queen is more of the original and I like his style more. Okay, so let me read Red Queen for you guys. This is a world divided by blood, red or silver. The Reds are commoners ruled by a silver elite in possession of godlike superpowers. And to Mare Barrow, a 17-year-old red girl from the poverty-stricken Stilt, it seemed like nothing will ever change. That is until she finds herself working in the Silver Palace. Here, surrounded by the people she hates the most, Mare discovers that, despite her red blood, she possesses a deadly power of her own, one that threatens to destroy the balance of power. Now, like I said before, the social system is really similar. Like in Red Queen, instead of ordinaries and elites, we have red blood and silver blood. If you have silver blood, you have powers and you're the elitist, and if you're red, you're kind of looked down on and you don't have powers. But it turns out she does have powers, just even though she has red blood, that we find out during the book. Now, it is a bit different. There is romance in Red Queen, but it's not as heavy into the story, I feel like, not as much. And I don't know, I feel like it's maybe even a more YA version, but I really liked how the story was going, and I like the vibe of it. And the ending was really, really good. Now, this first book, Powerless, it also ends really crazily, but it is a bit different. Like, it's mainly that, just like the underlayer, the foundation of the social system is exactly the same. Otherwise, plot-wise, it's not as similar, but if you're kind of looking for a vibe that's kind of similar, I would say try them both, but I'd say start with Red Queen before going into Powerless. I just want to see. But if you guys have read already Powerless, then try Red Queen. If you've already read Red Queen and you're looking for a very similar vibe, go for Powerless. I still think they're pretty good, and I've read both. Now, we have the next one. If you liked Once Upon a Broken Heart, read The Prison Healer. They are not super similar, but I don't know why, but I just feel like they would go they would go together really well. So let me read it to you guys. First, let's go with Once Upon a Broken Heart. Okay. How far would you go for happily ever after? For as long as she can remember, Evangeline Fox has believed in true love and happy endings until she learns that the love of her life will marry another. Desperate to stop the wedding and to heal her wounded heart, Evangeline strikes a deal with the charismatic but wicked Prince of Hearts. In exchange for his help, he asks for 3 kisses, to be given at a time and place of his choosing. That's a whole thing, okay? Prison Healer will now sound very, very, very different. Okay, I will tell you now. But I don't know. It's just something with it. I don't know. I like them both. But I don't know if you guys would agree with that. But I'd still recommend trying them. Okay, let me read the Prison Healer for you guys. 17-year-old Kiva Meriden has spent the last 10 years fighting for survival in the notorious death prison Zalendov, working as a prison healer. When the rebel queen is captured, Kiva is charged with keeping the terminally ill woman alive long enough for her to undergo the trial by ordeal, a series of elemental challenges against the torments of air, fire, water, and earth, assigned to only the most dangerous of criminals. The decoded message from Kiva's family arrives, containing a single order. Don't let her die, we are coming. Aware that the trials will kill the sickly queen, Kiva risks her own life to volunteer in her place. If she succeeds, both she and the queen will be granted their freedom. Yes, these books are very different, but I feel like, especially how popular Once Upon a Broken Heart is, I feel like The Prison Healer is pretty underrated, though I have seen it around the place, but this is much more underrated than before. And I still feel like you should read it at least once. If you've ever read The Prison Healer, I'd still recommend trying Once Upon a Broken Heart. It's a different vibe, but it's still both fantasies. They have their own romance system, though I feel like The Prison Healer, we don't see it as much, more in the second and the third book. But it's an interesting story. Next we have, if you liked A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, read Truly Devious. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder is a YA book, YA mystery, and Truly Devious is a bit more of a spookier book than A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Now, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder is kind of set about one girl trying to solve a mystery that happened 5 years ago, while Truly Devious it solves a murder happened a long, long time ago in a school that this girl is going to. But it's an interesting story, and I feel like if you guys are looking for, let's say you've read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and you're looking for something a bit more scary, a bit more you want to be on the edge of your seat, I'd go for Truly Devious. It's for sure, I read this book and I got chills. If you like Truly Devious, and you're looking for something more chill down, read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. But I'll tell you guys now, Truly Devious was better for me. Okay, anyways, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, this is the synopsis. Everyone in Fairview knows the story. Pretty and popular high school senior Andy Bell was murdered by her boyfriend, Sal Cinch, who then killed himself. It was all anyone could talk about, and 5 years later, Pip sees how the tragedy still haunts her town, but she can't shake the feeling that there was more to what happened that day. She knew Sal when she was a child, and he was always so kind to her. How could he possibly have been her killer? So then she kind of does this school project. She gets this, I don't remember what it's called, but it's like a school project where you can do whatever you want, and she decides to try to solve this mystery. And it's pretty interesting, but it just wasn't my vibe. It was very simple. We didn't really, I didn't feel, I wasn't very on the edge of my seat. I will continue maybe one day the series, but I don't know. Now, Truly Devious. Ellingham Academy is a famous private school in Vermont for the brightest thinkers, inventors, and artists. It was founded by Albert Ellingham, an early 20th century tycoon who wanted to make a wonderful place of riddles, twisting pathways, and gardens. A place, he said, where learning is a game. Shortly after the school opened, his wife and daughter were kidnapped. The only real clue was a mocking riddle listing methods of murder, signed with the most frightening pseudonym, so Truly Devious. It became one of the greatest unsolved crimes of American history, until this girl goes to school and she finds some stuff going on, and then she kind of solves what happened. Now, this is very interesting, and I was truly on the edge of my seat. I didn't see what was coming, and we meet a lot of these different characters from the book that really set the scene, set the mood, and this is there are so many different types of people in that school, so many different students, because it's for the brightest, thinkers, inventors, artists, they're from all kinds of different parts of the world that are just there to study, and they're very interesting, but it kind of gives me a camp vibe. I don't know why, but I would totally say you guys read those two books. If you haven't read either of them, maybe start with if you don't have a lot of experience with thrillers, I'd say start with The Good Girls Guide to Murder and then move on to Truly Devious. But if you have a lot of experience with it, I'd say Truly Devious first. Now, next one we have, if you liked the Addicted Calloway Sister series, read Magnolia Parks series, the Magnolia Parks Daisy hates. Now, I'm only going to read the synopsis of the Addicted series, and this is for more the mature aspect of people, okay, and Magnolia Parks is more, I feel it's more toxic, but they're both interesting and really easy to get through. Now, first we have the Addicted series. No one would suspect shy Lily Calloway's biggest secrets. While everyone dancing at college bars, Lily stays in the bathroom to get laid. Her compulsion leads her to one-night stands, steamy hookups, and events she shamefully regrets. The only person who knows her secret happens to have one of his own. Lauren Hale's best friend is his bottle of bourbon. Lily comes at a close second. For 3 years, they've pretended to be in a real relationship, hiding their addiction from their families. They've mastered the art of concealing flasks and random guys that filter in and out of their apartment. So that's kind of how it goes. And then we also have the Calloway Sister series, which you just guys have to look on the internet for a video of where people will tell you in what order to read it. But if I remember correctly, you need to first read the first 2 books of the Addicted series, then you read the first book of the Calloway Sister series. Now, in the Calloway Sister series, there's 2 books per couple and one final ending book. So it's so there's one book for Rose Calloway, then there's one for Daisy Calloway, and then one again for Rose, one again for Daisy, and then the last one is kind of you get to see everybody's POV, and it's kind of a rounded out to the whole series. Okay, next we have Magnolia Parks. So this is I'll tell you now, it's much more toxic, and there's also Daisy Hates, which I feel is a much better version of it actually, the Magnolia Parks, but yeah. She's a beautiful, affluent, self-involved, and mildly neurotic London socialite. He, though, is Britain's most photographed bad boy Lothario who broke her heart. But Magnolia Parks and BJ Valentine are meant to be, and everybody knows it. They're in the stars, just suspended in a strange kind of love that looks like hurting each other a lot of the time. She dates other people to keep him at bay. He sleeps with other girls to get back at her for it. But at the end of their every sad endeavor to get over one another, it's still each other they crawl back to. But their dysfunction is catching up with them, pulling at their seams and fraying the world they've built, a world where neither of them has to ever let the other go completely. As the cracks start to show and secrets begin to surface, Magnolia and BJ are finally forced to face the formidable question they've been avoiding all their lives. How many loves do you really get in a lifetime? Now, okay, I'll tell you guys now. I'm seriously, I want you guys to know, this is not for, the young audience, especially the Addicted series. They're both spicy, they're both romance, Okay, let me tell you also a bit about the Daisy Hates books. So it's like kind of about like a notorious crime family. And so this girl Daisy Hates has this older brother, and their parents died when she was really young. And then we kind of see things going on over there. So that's very interesting. That is a totally different book. But I feel like we still get a bit of the drama and the dysfunction filtering into that book too, because it happens a lot. But I feel like these books, while they may seem very different, they still have this similar vibe. In my head, I think of them as similar, even though they aren't. And I for sure recommend you guys like read it at some point. But wait a bit. Okay. Now next we have, if you enjoy The Serpent and the Wings of Night, read this book up. Fourth Wing. Okay? I'm currently rereading Fourth Wing for a very special video, but that's not the point. So these books are both fantasy romances, and they have different vibes, but there's something about them that I feel like you might enjoy. I enjoyed both of them a lot, so I feel like they could totally go together. So, read along. So, first we have The Serpent and the Wings of Night. The adopted human daughter of the Nightborn vampire king Oriya carved her place in a world designed to kill her. Her only chance to become something more than prey is entering the Kijari, a legendary tournament held by the goddess of death herself. But winning won't be easy amongst the most vicious warriors from all three vampire houses. To survive, Oriya is forced to make an alliance with a mysterious rival. Everything about Rain is dangerous. He's a ruthless vampire, an efficient killer, an enemy to her father's crown, and her greatest competition. Yet what terrifies Oriya most of all is that she finds herself oddly drawn to him. But there's no room for compassion in Kijari. Word for the House of Night brews and shattering everything that Oriya thought she knew about her home. And Rain may understand her more than anyone, but their blossoming attraction could be her downfall, in a kingdom where nothing is more deadly than love. Now, in this, while Fourth Wing, love is not, looked down on, Serpent and the Wings of Night, these are, this is a ruthless story where there's, vampires, and then there's a small group of humans. Humans are looked down on a bit, and they're, vampires like to take them to feed on them, and honestly, this happens a lot where in The Serpent and the Wings of Night, there's a vampire family, and so usually they don't really, I don't think they marry, I don't remember, but there's two vampires. They have let's say one child, but chances are that child is more ruthless than the parents and it kills them. That's kind of the policy. You won't be looked down on if a child kills their parents. People will be like, wow, he's strong, we better watch our backs. And it's like you're never safe with your family. And this girl she's a human, and her dad, she was adopted, who she calls dad, by a vampire king, and so she's learning her tricks, and she's trying to get up to the top. Okay, and it's very interesting, the story. Now, Fourth Wing, very different style, but I still feel like it's important to read it. Okay. 20-year-old Violet Swearingen was supposed to enter the Scribe Quadrant, living a quiet life among books and history, until she was forced onto the world's deadliest training grounds. Now she must fight to join the army's elite dragon riders. But dragons don't choose fragile riders, they incinerate them. And when your body breaks as easily as Violet does, death is only a heartbreak away. With few dragons willing to bond the cadets, okay, here. Because I was reading from here, but there's stuff over there. But okay, next. With fewer dragons willing to bond the cadets, most would kill Violet to better their own chances of success. The rest would kill her just for being her mother's daughter, Lex Zayden Ryerson, the most powerful and ruthless wing leader in the Riders Quadrant. She'll need every edge her wits can give her just to see the next sunrise. Yet with every day that passes, the war outside grows more deadly. The kingdom's protective wards are failing, and the death toll continues to rise. Even worse, Violet begins to suspect leadership is hiding a terrible secret. Now, this book is literally if you like dragons and a crazy magic system, and you like when it's when you see school and the characters learning stuff, I would totally. It keeps on dying on me. Something keeps on dying on me, but it's my microphones again, like always. I forget to charge them, and so they die at random moments. So this video is gonna have crap audio, but I can't do anything, guys. Sorry about that. Now, continuing. So these books are very different, but honestly, I would totally recommend reading both of them because they have a very interesting story to them, and they both are very fantasy related. So yeah. Next we have, if you liked Shatter Me, then read This Woven Kingdom. These are by the same author, and they are totally different stories, honestly, but they both have romance. And I feel like if you really enjoyed Tahir Mafi's writing style, I would totally recommend you read both. You read the other series if you haven't read either of them yet, or like both of them yet. And so let's start with the Shatter Me synopsis first. I have a curse. Dash. I have a gift. I am a monster. Dash. I'm more than human. My touch is lethal. Dash. My touch is power. I am their weapon. Dash. I will fight back. Juliet hasn't touched anyone in exactly 264 days. The last time she did it was an accident, but the re-establishment locked her up for murder. No one knows why Juliet's touch is fatal. As long as she doesn't hurt anyone else, no one really cares. The world is too busy crumbling to pieces to pay attention to a 17-year-old girl. Diseases are destroying the population. Food is hard to find. Birds don't fly anymore, and the clouds are the wrong color. The re-establishment said that their way was the only way to fix things, so they threw Juliet in a cell. Now so many people are dead that the survivors are whispering war, and the re-establishment has changed its mind. Maybe Juliet is more than a tortured soul stuffed in a poisonous body. Maybe she's exactly what they need right now. Now this series is just one of my favorite series ever. It is longer than This Woven Kingdom. This Woven Kingdom is 3 books long. I've only read the first book of that series, and Shadow May have read the whole series, and I totally recommend you guys read both of them because they're really interesting, even though they're totally different. Now next we have This Woven Kingdom. So, clashing empires and forbidden romance, and a long-forgotten queen destined to save her people. Okay, now. To all the world, Eliza is a disposable servant, not the long-lost heir to an ancient Jinn kingdom forced to hide in plain sight. The crown prince, Kamran, has heard the prophecies foretelling the death of his king, but he could never have imagined that the servant girl with the strange eyes, the girl he can't put out of his mind, would one day soon uproot his kingdom and the world. That's kind of the whole synopsis, and it's a very, very interesting story. It's very different from Shatter Me, but it's still kind of giving the idea of nobody could expect that somebody so tiny, or somebody that people maybe are or aren't afraid of, could do something that can maybe save or break the world. So that's very, very interesting. Next we have, if you enjoyed Hunger Games, read Divergent. I've read Divergent for a long time ago. I'm planning on reading it someday. Don't go crazy on me right now. But, and Hunger Games I read not too long ago. These are both dystopian books, and that's mainly the reason why I am saying, like, if you like this book, read that book, because I don't know, they just seem, even though they have totally different plots, they're interesting, and I still think you guys should read them. So, Hunger Games. In the ruins of a place once known as North America lies the nation of Panem, a shining capital surrounded by 12 outlying districts. The capital is harsh and cruel, and it keeps the district in line by forcing them all to send one boy and one girl between the ages of 12 and 18 to participate in the annual Hunger Games, a fight to the death on live TV. 16-year-old Katniss Everdeen, who lives alone with her mother and younger sister, regarding it as a death sentence when she steps forward to take her sister's place in the games. But Katniss has been close to death before. And survival for her is second nature. Without really meaning to, she becomes a contender. But if she is to win, she will have to start making choices that weigh survival against humanity and life against love. So that's very interesting. And then next we have Divergent. So pretty much there's a society divided into 5 factions, each dedicated to the cultivation of a particular virtue: candor, the honest ones; abnegation, the selfless; dauntless, the brave; amity, the peaceful; and erudity, the intelligent. Now, on an appointed day of every year, all 16-year-olds must select the faction to which they will devote the rest of their lives. For Beatrice, the decision is between staying with her family and being who she really is. She can't have both, so she makes a choice that surprises everyone, including herself. During the highly competitive initiation that follows, Beatrice renames herself Triss and struggles along her side fellow initiatives to live out the choice they have made. Together, they must undergo extreme physical tests of endurance and intense psychological simulations, some with devastating consequences. As initiation transforms all, Triss must determine who her friends really are and where exactly a romance with a sometimes fascinating, sometimes exasperating boy fits into the life she's chosen. But Triss also has a secret, one she's kept from everyone because she's been warned it can mean death, and as she discovers unrest and growing conflict that threaten to unravel her seemingly perfect society, she also learns that her secret might help her save those who she loves, or might destroy her. So this is very interesting. These have different political systems, but they're still both dystopian books, and I still feel that have like this vibe to them that I feel like no matter what, somebody will like. Next we have, if you enjoyed Vicious, read Ninth House. So these are different books by different authors, but I don't know, they have the same, like, they really like to have more of a, like, there's more descriptions, and it's mainly the writing style that kind of gives the same vibe. The story itself is not really the same. Now, okay, so first the Vicious synopsis. Victor and Ellie started out as college roommates, brilliant, arrogant, lonely boys who recognize the same sharpness and ambition in each other. In their senior years, a shared research interest in adrenaline, near-death experiences, and seemingly supernatural events reveal an intriguing possibility that under the right conditions, somebody could develop extraordinary abilities. But when their thesis moves from the academic to the experimental, things go horribly wrong. 10 years later, Victor breaks out of prison, determined to catch up to his old friend, now foe, aided by a young girl who reserved natural obscures a stunning ability. Meanwhile, Ellie is on a mission to eradicate every other superpowered person that he can find, aside from his sidekick, an enigmatic woman with an unbreakable will. Armed with terrible power on both sides, driven by the memory of betrayal and loss, the arch nemesis have set a course for revenge, but who will be left alive at the end? So this is very interesting, and it's more like they're hunting each other at the same time, and they're trying to destroy, like one of them is trying to save the world, one of them is trying to destroy the world, and it's interesting how it goes. Now, we have Ninth House. Galaxy Alex Stern is the most unlikely member of Yale's freshman class. Raised in the Los Angeles hinterlands by a hippie mom, Alex dropped out of school early and into a world of shady drug dealers, boyfriends, dead-end jobs, and much, much worse. At age 20, in fact, she's the sole survivor of a horrific, unsolved, multiple homicide. Some might say she's thrown her life away, but at her hospital bed, Alex is offered a second chance to attend one of the most elite universities on a full ride. What's the catch, and why her? Still searching for answers to herself, Alex arrives in New Haven, tasked by her mysterious benefactors with monitoring the activities of Yale's secret societies. These 18 windowless tubs are well known to be haunts of the powerful, rich, and powerful, from high-ranking politics to Wall Street and Hollywood biggest players, but their occult activities are revealed to be more than sinister and more extraordinary than any paranoid imagination might conceive. So these have different vibes, but they both have to do with like killings, and like they're looking for specific people. It's not really mystery, but it's kind of going into that vibe, and it's a very interesting story. Next we have, if you enjoyed The Naturals, read Five Survive. This is mainly because it's about a group of friends. The Naturals is a series, and Five Survive is just one book. Five Survive is more of a fast-paced book, and it's just one exhilarating ride, while The Naturals is more, every book has to do with a bit more about the troubles of different characters that the main character meets. We solve all kinds of mysteries, and it's very interesting stories, and I would totally recommend them. They're both YA. So, first we have The Naturals. 17-year-old Cassie is a natural at reading people, piecing together the tiniest details. She can tell who you are and what you want, but it's not a skill that she's ever taken seriously. That is until the FBI comes knocking. They begin a classified program that uses exceptional teenagers to crack in famous cold cases, and they need Cassie. What Casey doesn't realize is that there's more risk than a few unsolved homicides, especially when she's sent to live with a group of teens whose gifts are as usually as her own. Sarcastic, privileged Michael has a knack for reading emotions, which he uses to get inside Cassie's head and under her skin. Brooding Dean shares Cassie's gift for profiling, but keeps her at arm's length. Soon it becomes and then there's also two more characters, but they don't really talk about it yet. Soon it becomes clear that no one in the Naturals program is what they seem, and when a new killer strikes, danger looms closer than Cassie could ever have imagined. Caught in a lethal game of cat and mouse with a killer, the Naturals are going to have to use all their gifts to survive. I also really liked how in the Naturals, because she's a profiler and she needs to get into people's heads, we have this chapter where it's kind of like talking about in the point of view of the person, but they don't use an A, they use instead you. and that's very interesting, I feel like. Now, 5 survive. 8 hours, 6 friends, 1 sniper. 18-year-old Red and her friends are now on a road in an RV, heading to the beach for spring break. It's a long drive, but spirits are high. Until the RV breaks down in the middle of nowhere. There's no mobile phone reception and nobody around to help. And as the wheels are shot out one by one, the friends realize that there's no accident. There's a sniper out there in the dark, watching them, and he knows exactly who they are. One of the group has a secret that the sniper is willing to kill for. A game of cat and mouse plays out as the group desperately tries to get help and to work out which member of the group is the target. Buried secrets are forced to light in the cramped, claustrophobic setting of the RV. And tension within the group will reach deadly levels. Not everyone will survive that night. This is very interesting, and I really like how 5 survive happens in one night, so it's not really like, and it's not really dragged out, and it's just perfect for like an exhilarating one-time like thriller book. And guys, that is officially it. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope I helped you find a few new books to add to your list, a few new books to add to some read quickly, read soon, or else you really need this, girl. So I hope you found some good books. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, hearing me talk about all these books. I hope you found a lot of new recommendations. And I guess I'll see you guys next time. So, yeah. Bye.